Today we're going to talk about how to use the happy minor scale. It's one of the most beautiful sounds in music. It's the Dorian mode, and we're going to dive right into it. So one of its most famous exponents is Carlos Santana, and you can hear him using it all over the place. It has such a distinctive sound. Very mysterious, but also uplifting. Another tour de force on the Dorian mode is the song So What by Miles Davis. I mean, you can hear Larry Carlton playing those licks here. This is a great example of it. So it has that minor sound, but it also has that mystery and that uplifting vibe to it. But it's also used in blues, it's used in rock, it's used in country music. Players like Eric Clapton and J.J. Cale use this scale all the time. But modes are often misunderstood, right? They're made way too complex. So in this video, I'm going to show you how simple it is to get into this scale and how you can use it and apply it right away to your playing. But also, I'm going to give you a little bit of the music theory behind this, but stick with me to the end, because I'm going to give you a really mind-blowing tip on how to use this mode in an awesome way. So let's get right into it. All right, so one of the greatest ways to put things in context on the guitar is to take the basic scales that are most common. So what you want to do is start by taking the minor pentatonic scale right there, and then we're going to superimpose the Dorian scale on top of that. So just kind of keep those notes lit up in your head, the pentatonic, and then the notes around that you're going to just add in. So you walk up to the minor third, and then you're going to add in this major sixth right here. So you've got this, and then it just repeats. Now, one of the cool things about the Dorian mode when you use it in this particular form is this is a very symmetrical scale. So if you go down the scale like this, really handy pattern where you basically start on this shape and you do it twice, fingers 4, 3, and 1, kind of like a rockabilly run, right? Like that. And then you cross over to the G, to the third string, and you're going to do this kind of the opposite shape where you start on finger 4, 2, and 1, and just repeat that twice. So the whole thing put together is like this. And that area of the guitar is really where most of the melodies and licks and everything, like a lot of times you don't tend to go down on the low strings anyway. So if you just learn your scales just on the top 4 strings, that's where you get most of the action anyway. And then to finish it off. So the whole thing would be like... So the way it sounds, you know, if you're playing over those kind of progressions, has that wonderful sound. You know, players like Santana and a lot of jazzy players like Robin Ford will use a lot of those sounds. And the really notable sound is this major sixth in there. So it's got the beautiful sound of a minor scale with this major sixth sound in there. That's what gives it a lot of that mystery, is that major sixth sound. Okay, so let me give you this pro tip. One of the perfect places to use the Dorian mode is when you're playing blues. When you're playing over the 1 chord, you're just going to use your basic pentatonic scale or the blues scale. And then you mix in the minor third and the major third, the blue third. That's where all your blues licks live most of the time, right? But when you get to the 4 chord, you're going to use the Dorian mode. It's the perfect mode over the 4 chord. So you can hear it just outlines the sound of the 4 chord exactly. And you can use licks like, or even just, and then you go back on the 1 chord to your regular blues licks. So that's a great application for the Dorian mode. And when you think about it, when you're playing blues, half the time you're on the 4 chord anyway. So if you cross back and forth between the the blues scale, and then when you get to the 4 chord, you go to the Dorian mode, and then when you actually get to the 5 chord, you can use the Ionian mode or the major scale or the major pentatonic. That's kind of another video maybe, but that's a great little trick, great little application that you can use straight away. To get your head around this, you got to start by just looking at the major scale. So a good way of dealing with the major scale is to think of it like this. Say if we're in the key of G, you just crawl up the scale like this. You got your root note, and then you got a whole step, half step, and then whole, and then back to the root again. In order to kind of round out the whole key, you want to hang a chord on each note of that scale. So I'm going to take each of those root notes and put a chord on it. So G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E major, and then F sharp minor, flat 5. And then back to G. What you end up with is this collection of chords. You got your major, minor, major, minor, and then minor flat 5 off diminished. Now, so basically you can think of a key like kind of a family of notes and chords that sound great together and that are used together all the time. So say if I play that scale like that, I'm going to hang a chord on each one of those notes. I'm going to play it in this area of the neck. So I'm going to start with this way of playing a G. So it's like a power chord, right? So there's your root note, and then your 5th, and then another octave. So that's a great punchy sound. So there's your G, and then you're going to go to the next note, A. So I'm going to play an A minor, like this, and then the next note is B. I'm going to play a B minor like this. It's B minor 7, but it's a nice way to play it. And then I'm going to go to my C, play the C like that. First inversion of the C, and then the D like this, and then the E minor. Play like this, or like this. So E minor 7, and then the F sharp. I'll play like this, minor 7 flat 5. So you end up with this collection of chords: the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, 6, 7, and back. So what you end up with there is just right under your fingertips is all the chords you ever need, right there, right in one position. So to get into the Dorian mode, a lot of people get confused with modes. All you're going to do is stay with all that same information, but you're just going to reassign the root note. So if you look here, I'm going to take all that same information. There's my G major scale, but instead of playing the root note right here, I'm going to say this is now the root note. And when we do that, you're just going to get this. So instead of starting on the G, I'm going to start on the A and play those same notes. Okay, so that's the A Dorian scale. And then really what's important is to harmonize that with the chords, because that's what gives you the context. So, you know, songs are built around chords. So what you end up with is the 2 minor, the 3 minor, and then you've got that 4 and 5 together, the C and the D. And then you've got your E minor, the diminished, and then the last chord would be the G. So when you reassign the root note, you end up starting on the A minor, and then you've got the B minor, the C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then G. So that's the harmonized Dorian mode. But the best way to really think about that now is to break it down into songs. So look at chord progressions, because a good way to think about the Dorian mode is it's the scale that fits over this progression. You know, Santana, that kind of progression in so many songs, and basically it's a 2-5. It's going from the A minor to the D. That progression there, A minor to D. The scale that fits with that is this, that Dorian mode. Now I'm going to show you some cool licks in a second. Another good one is just going from the A minor to B minor, or it's a marvelous night for a moon dance. You know, so the mode, you know, the mode that goes with that is this Dorian. Loads of stuff, Miles Davis, you know, any kind of jazz music. A lot of jazz music is built around the idea of a 2-5, which is essentially a Dorian progression. a 2/5 progression is like going from an A to a D7, and that's a great place to use the Dorian mode. Another way that you can really familiarize yourself with this is to harmonize the mode using double stops. So an easy way to think about that, like say if we go back to the key of G, so reassigning the root note back to the home to G, so we're in the key of G. If you're going to harmonize a G major scale, one string like this, you end up with these cool dyads, and they're going to be like this: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor. Just like the chords, right? Because they're the inner parts of a chord. So if you start on the second one, so we're going to reassign the root back to the A minor, to the 2 chord. So we're going to start right here, and you're going to end up with this: minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. Because we've reassigned it, right? So you got minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. So the minor interval is like this, 1 fret apart, and the major is on the same fret. Now, when you go to a different set of strings, it slightly changes. On the D and G strings, this is minor, 2 frets apart, and this is major, 1 fret apart, because the tuning changes. So all you got to do, though, is learn this simple little pattern, and this gets you going kind of in the Dorian scale, is to play it like this. Because remember, we want to bring the family of chords and notes and licks all together in this position right here, right? So we've got our scale, then we've got our chords: A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, half diminished, and G. So all right there under our fingertips. And then we've got our dyads, or our double stops. So remember, we've got minor, minor, so we're going to play it right here: minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, and then major. So there's our harmonized scale right under your fingertips. Great sound right there. Now, once you've learned those shapes, you can play great harmonized melodies. You can also create licks out of them. So rather than thinking of scales there, I'm thinking about these little shapes. All right, so you put that all together and you've got your scale. You got your family of chords. And then you've got your double stop licks: minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor. All right, well, I hope you found this helpful and it opened up some ideas for you to get into that amazing modal harmony of the Dorian mode. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. So let me know what are some of your favorite modes and any questions that you have. And also, if you want to hear more from us, go to our Spotify, which is Everglades Rhythm. And we've just released the new album, Evangeline, which you can get on there. Thanks for everyone who's listened to it so far. And we've got a whole bunch of other records on there with like surf and rock and roll, stuff like that. And we've got a new album coming out soon too, which I'll be letting you guys know about. But anyway, I hope you have fun with this. And remember, turn it up.